The courtroom was buzzing like a disturbed beehive. I stood in front of the judge's table, feeling hundreds of curious eyes staring at my back. Divorces are always gathered the public. Someone liked to look at someone else's grief, someone wanted to compare it with their own problems, but today they were about to see something they didn't expect. Does this mean that you renounce all jointly acquired assets? Judge. Irina Viktorovna looked at me over her glasses, an experienced woman of about 10 years old. She saw all sorts of things in these walls, but even in her eyes there was a flicker of surprise. Yes, Your Honor, from everything. There was a laugh to my left. Grigory, my ex-husband, could not resist. His mother, who was sitting next to her, covered her mouth with her hands, but her eyes were laughing. Mockingly. Triumphantly. Ha ha, what a fool, Grigory whispered loud enough for everyone in the front rows to hear it. My mother-in-law nodded, as if he had said something incredibly clever. The judge banged her gavel. I ask you to keep order in the hall. Her voice was stern, but I noticed how her eyebrows twitched. She felt something wrong with this picture. I continued to stand upright without lowering my eyes. Let them laugh, let them think that I am a broken woman ready to give everything just to end this nightmare as soon as possible. Let Grigory bathe in his superiority. He always liked to feel like a winner. Mrs. Sokolova, the judge turned to me again. You understand that we are talking about a 120 square meters apartment in the center city, a car, a summer cottage, and a share in a dental clinic. The total value of the property is estimated at $42 million. I understand, Your Honor, and you voluntarily give up your half. Yes. The laughter in the hall intensified. Grigory no longer restrained himself. He laughed frankly, patting his mother on the shoulder. She looked at me with such contempt as if I were dirt on her expensive shoes. I told you, Grisha, that she was nobody. The mother-in-law's voice cut through the goal. Kindergarten teacher, what can she do? She should be on her knees, thanking you that you are on her at all. Married. The judge knocked again with a hammer, this time harder. Final warning. In case of the next violation, I will remove you from the courtroom. I did not take my eyes off Irina Viktorovna. Our eyes met, and I saw there what I had hoped for. The professional curiosity of an experienced judge who senses that something is wrong. Mr. Sokolov, the judge turned to Grigory. Do you agree with such a division of property? Of course. He jumped up from his seat, beaming like a child before the new year. If my ex-wife is so generous, then who am I to refuse? His lawyer, an expensive specialist from Moscow, whom Grigory hired to smear me on the wall, looked puzzled. He clearly did not expect such a turn. He was being prepared for battle, but it turned out to be a walk. Okay, Judge. I leaned back in my chair, announcing a break for 30 minutes. Mrs. Sokolova, please come with me into the office. My heart skipped a beat, but I nodded. It was a risk, but a necessary one. Grigory and his mother looked at each other. They clearly thought that the judge was going to talk me out of this madness. Think. We walked through a side door into a small office. Irina Viktorovna closed the door and pointed to the chair in front of his desk. Sit down and tell me the truth. He intimidated you, threatened you. Her voice was softer than in the hall, but still firm. I shook my head. No, Your Honor, I do it of my own free will. I have been working in this position for 23 years. She took off her glasses and I rubbed the bridge of my nose. And I know what a woman who has been broken looks like. You don't look broken. You're are calm for a person who voluntarily gives up his future. I was silent. Irina Viktorovna got up and went to the window. You understand that after you won't have a roof over your head, that you will have to start from scratch. You work as a kindergarten teacher. The salary, to put it mildly, does not allow you to rent a house and support yourself with dignity. I can do it. My voice was even. Why? She turned to me. Explain to me, and I don't want to hear platitudes about it's going to be better this way or I just want to end it, make it snappy. I see that something is wrong here. I took a deep breath. The moment of truth. I could have remained silent, and then the plan would have collapsed. Or she could trust this woman, who, she looked at me not with pity, but with respect for my right to my own decision. Your Honor, I've leaned forward with the property I'm giving up. It will be a nightmare for whoever gets it. And I want that person to be my ex-husband. The judge's eyebrows crept up. Top. Keep going. Apartment. She has legal problems that Grigory does not know about. Problems that will pop up in a few months. Which ones? It was bought using maternity capital. I spoke slowly, choosing my words. According to the law, such an apartment must be allocated shares to children. But Grigory did not do this. He registered everything for himself using my documents. While I was in the hospital after, I stopped. Whereupon, after losing our daughter in the 8th month of pregnancy, silence in the office became dense, tangible. Irina Viktorovna slowly returned to her desk and sat down. I'm sorry, but if a child is not born, a child was born. I shook my hands into fists. She lived for 20 minutes. She was registered, issued a birth certificate, and immediately, about death. By law, she had the right to a share in the apartment. Grigory ignored this. The guardianship authorities will find out about this in 4 months. I have already written a statement. It is at the notary with instructions. Send it at the right time. The judge leaned back in her chair. This will lead to the cancellation of the transaction. 2. Many years of litigation, fines, perhaps even a criminal case for fraud with state. Means. I nodded. The apartment will be arrested. Grigory will not be able to sell it or hand over Varianda, and this is just the beginning. What do you mean? I looked straight at her, in the eyes. Your Honor, my husband is a successful dentist, the owner of a private clinic. All these years I kept the accounting of his business. I know about every gray salary, every undeclared income, every fake certificate for the tax office. I have copies of all the documents. When the check on the apartment begins, this will also come out. The tax authorities will be interested in where a person who officially earns $80,000 a month has money for such real estate. Do you want to destroy it? It wasn't a question. I want justice. I straightened up. 3 years ago when I lost Masha, Grigory did not come to the hospital. He was busy. He had an urgent operation, he said. I found out. True, a month later he was in a hotel with a young administrator from his clinic. When I was dying of pain, holding my dead daughter in my arms, he was having fun. My voice trembled, but I continued. After that, he did not console me, did not support me. He said that it was my own fault that I worked too much, that I did not take care of myself. His mother, she said to my face, that I am not even able to carry a child normally, that I am defective. And then they began to drive me out of the house. Subtly, methodically. Grigory stopped giving me money for personal needs. Everything I earned myself was spent on the essentials. He did not, gave me nothing else. Financial abuse, the judge said quietly. Yes, he controlled every penny. I had to report on every purchase. If he thought that I had wasted unnecessary scandal, screaming, humiliation, his mother supported him in everything. They would break me, if not for the children in my kindergarten. I smiled through my tears. They saved me. Every day I came to work and saw these kids, their joy, their trust. I realized that I couldn't give up. I couldn't show them that they could give up. Some of them are from dysfunctional families. I see the same signs of violence that I experienced myself. And I began to act. Irina Viktorovna listened in silence. Her face was impenetrable, but her eyes betrayed emotion. I continued for 2 years. For 2 years I was preparing, collecting documents, copying everything I could. I recorded conversations when he boasted to friends about how he cheated on the tax authorities. I found people whom he did not pay, whom he deceived, former patients with complications after poor quality, who were afraid to sue a famous doctor. I've gathered them all, and now you're giving him everything to make it, buried him. Greed is his weakness. I nodded. He will not be able to resist. He will take everything and triumph, and then it will all collapse on his head. One will lead to the other. Inspections, courts, fines. His clinic will collapse, his reputation will be destroyed, and he will be left with nothing, just like he left me with nothing. And where will you live? I have a room in a communal apartment which I have been renting for the last 6 months, I admitted. Things I was preparing. My salary is enough for a modest life. And I hesitated. I applied for a grant for social project. I want to open a center to help women who have gone through the same thing as me. If everything works out, I will be able not only to help others, but also to provide for myself." The judge looked at me for a long time, then nodded slowly. "I can't officially endorse your strategy, but I can to say that if a person voluntarily renounces property, this is his right. The law allows it, and I see no reason to prevent your decision. Thank you." I exhaled. "Just one question. Are you sure you're ready for the consequences? Your ex-husband will understand who was behind all this. He will be angry. He will try to take revenge. Let him try. His voice sounded steel. I have a defense that he doesn't even know about, and people who will help me if I need it. I am no longer alone, Your Honor. I'm no longer the intimidated woman I was 3 years ago." We returned to the courtroom. Grigory and his mother waited, beaming with anticipation of victory. The lawyer whispered something to his client, but he waved him off. Why did he need advice when everything was? And so it goes perfectly. The judge announced the decision. All property passed to Grigory Sokolov. The marriage was dissolved. "I'm free. Congratulations, dear." My mother-in-law could not resist a snide remark when we left the hall. "Now you can live in your kindergarten between snotty kids. This suits you better than the role of the wife of my successful son." Grigory put his hand on his mother's shoulder, stopping her. "Mother, don't," he said with ostentatious generosity. "She is humiliated enough as it is." He turned to me with the smile of a victor. "Good luck to you. I hope you can find someone who will agree to such a one." "Oh, my wife." I looked at him and thought, enjoy this moment, Grigory. Enjoy it, because this is the last time you feel like a winner in your life. But aloud I said, just take care of the apartment, it's worth it. He laughed and walked away, hugging his mother. They did not notice the thin smiles on my lips. They didn't notice how the judge saw me off with a look that looked like approval. And I walked out of the courthouse onto Autumn Street, and for the first time in 3 years I felt truly free. Yes, there was a war ahead, but it was a war I was preparing for and which I was going to win. It all started 2 years ago when I first crossed the threshold of the Snow White Smile Dental Clinic. I got sick. The tooth was so bad that painkillers did not help, and a friend advised me to go there. They say, the best specialists, modern equipment, although expensive. It was not expensive for me. A kindergarten teacher with a salary of $28,000 could not afford a private dentistry, but the pain was such that I made up my mind. She took the money she was saving for a new coat and went. Grigory Sokolov received me personally. Tall, fit, with a confident smile and a firm handshake. In a white coat he looked like a hero of a medical series, a successful, self-aware professional. I was 32. I had just come out of a difficult relationship with a man who drank and raised his hand against me. Grigory seemed like a breath of fresh air. "Don't worry," he said then, a frightened look visible. "We will fix everything. You will smile without pain." He treated my tooth for almost 2 hours. He worked carefully, explaining each step, distracting with conversations. When I came to follow-up examination a week later, he invited me for coffee after the appointment. "It's wrong," I laughed. "Then you can become not a patient," he smiled. "The tooth is healthy. You don't owe me anything else, except maybe one evening." I agreed. How naive I was. The courtship was beautiful. Flowers, restaurants, trips out of town. Grigory knew how to make an impression. He listened to me when I talked about the children in the kindergarten, about my work, admired my kindness, my patience, said that I was not like all the women he knew. "You're real," he whispered to me. "No falsehood, no calculation. Simply a good, kind woman." I met his mother after 3 months of relationship. Valentina Petrovna was the complete opposite of her son. Harsh, tough, with an eternally dissatisfied expression. Face. Widow. She devoted her whole life to her only son, paid for his education, helped open a clinic, and believed that no one was worthy of her sin. "Teacher," she drawled when we met, looking me up and down. "Well, at least not a saleswoman." Grigory then laughed it off, said that his mother was just worried that she would soon get used to it. I believed it. The first mistake. We got married 6 months later. The wedding was modest. I did not want a magnificent celebration, but Grigory supported it. His mother She was present, but she behaved as if she had come to a funeral and not to her son's wedding. The first months were happy. I moved into his 3-room apartment, continued to work in the kindergarten. Grigory insisted that I left my job, saying, "Why do I need this penny salary? He can provide for both of us." But I refused. Work was my outlet, my meaning. "These children need me," I explained. He did not, argued then, just nodded and said, "As you wish, but when our child is born, everything will change." I got pregnant. 8 months after the wedding. Girl, we have already chosen the name Maria Masha. Grigory was happy, carried me in his arms, did not allow me to lift weights. Even his mother, the granddaughter warmed up, was her dream. In the 7th month, problems began, pressure, swelling, the threat of premature birth. Doctors insisted on hospitalization, but Grigory waved it off. "They are playing it safe," he said. "You just need peace. Lie down at home, I'll look after you." I obeyed. The second mistake. In the 8th month, something happened that divided my life into yes and after. I felt bad in the evening when Grigory was at work. I called him, he said that he was late. "An important operation will arrive in an hour." I called an ambulance. In the hospital, everything happened quickly. Emergency cesarean section. I remember. Criticism of doctors. I remember how I was taken to the operating room. I remember how through the fog of anesthesia I heard a faint squeak. My Masha was crying. Then there was silence. When I woke up, the nurse with tears in her eyes told me the truth. Masha was born with critical hypoxia. Her lungs did not open. Resuscitation did not help. She lived for 20 minutes. I was given to hold it. The tiny body is already cooling down. A face similar to Grigory. I held her and I couldn't believe that this was happening to me, that my girl, which I carried under my heart, loved, imagined how she would grow up dead. Grigory came 3 hours later, not in the operation, not immediately after the doctor's call. After 3 hours I entered the ward, looked at me, at the tiny bundle in my hands and said, "This is terrible, I'm sorry," and that's it. No hugs, no tears. He stood for 5 minutes, then muttered that he needed to draw up the documents and left. I never found out then where he was for these 3 hours. I found out later, much later, when I accidentally stumbled upon a message on his phone. "Where are you? We booked a table for 8. Grisha, how long can I do? I'm already waiting." "Okay, I understand, force majeure. Another time?" Correspondence with Christina, the administrator of his clinic, a 24-year-old girl, a long blonde who looked at Grigory as if he were the center of the universe. He was with her when I gave birth and lost our daughter. He was in the restaurant with a mistress and rushed to the hospital only when it was over. When the doctors began to call persistently. When it became clear that it was no longer possible to hide. I found out about it a month after the funeral, a month that I spent in the fog of grief. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Grigory tried not to catch my eye. Left early, returned late. His mother visited me every day. "You must pull yourself together," she said. "My son needs support. He suffers too." Suffers. A man who does not come to his wife at the most terrible moment of her life suffers. When I found the correspondence, something in me broke completely. I called Grigory for a conversation, showed him the phone. I was waiting for him to make excuses, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. He looked, grinned, and said, "And what do you think I should have? Sitting within 4 walls and watching you whine? Life goes on. Yes, I feel sorry for the child, but I'm not going to bury myself alive because of this." I was stunned. "You were with her when Masha, I didn't know that everything was so serious." He flared up. "You constantly complained of pain, of feeling unwell every day. I thought it was another hysteria." "Hysterics? I was losing our child. Our daughter would have died anyway," he barked. "The doctors said that there was hypoxia, too strong. Even if I had rushed right away, it wouldn't have changed anything." Maybe he was right about the outcome, but this did not change the main thing. He chose to have dinner with his mistress instead of being around me, and now he was trying to justify it, accusing me. "Do you know what your problem is?" he continued, getting a taste of it. "You're too weak, too gentle, for this world. You couldn't carry the baby to term normally. You can't survive the loss with dignity. Everything you know how to whine. and feel sorry for yourself." His mother, hearing our conversation, came out of the next room. "Grisha is right," she said coldly. "You're defective. I could not give birth to a healthy child. Maybe this is for the best. Such a mother would hardly have raised something worthwhile." I looked at them both and did not recognize them. People with whom I lived, or maybe I finally saw them for real. From that day on, my new life began. Life in a golden cage where I was kept on a short leash. Grigory stopped giving me money, except for the minimum. Food. He blocked my card, saying that now he would control all finances. "You already have a penny salary," he explained. "What for? Do you also want my money? If you need something you ask, I will give it." Ask? How a dog begs for a piece from the table. "Master." I tried to object. He shouted so that the neighbors knocked on the wall. He tried to leave. He locked me in the apartment, hiding all my documents. When I finally broke free and ran to the district police officer, Grigory came there after me, smiled charmingly and explained that the wife is experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder after the loss of a child, that she was hallucinating, that he was treating her. The district police officer advised me to consult a psychotherapist. Grigory promised that he would organize it. Of course, he did not organize anything. I was trapped with empty pockets, no paperwork, no money to rent. Working in a kindergarten gave a salary, but it was not enough even for a room in a dormitory. Grigory knew this and enjoyed. But it was my work that saved me, more precisely children. I remember that day clearly, a cold February evening. I came home after the shift and found Grigory and his mother discussing my future. "We need to get rid of it," said Valentina Petrovna. "She's booza. Get divorced. Find a normal woman who will give birth to a healthy child." "It's not so easy, Mom," sighed Grigory. "By law, she is entitled to half of everything. Apartment, cottage, share-in, clinic, so make her refuse. She is weak, weak-willed. Press it hard." I froze outside the door, listening to how they planned my life. "I'll try," agreed Gregory. "If I press constantly, sooner or later it will break. If only I could get tired of seeing her sour face every day as soon as possible." They laughed. I quietly turned around and left the apartment. I walked through the city at night, not knowing where, sat down on a bench in the park and cried. For the first time in all these months, I allowed myself to cry for real. Not about Masha, although about her too. About myself, about what my life has turned into. An elderly woman sat nearby. "What has it happened, dear?" she asked sympathetically. I didn't plan to answer, but the words poured out by themselves. I told her everything. About Masha, about Grigory, about the trap in which she found herself. The woman listened in silence, then took a business card out of her purse. "My name is Tamara Ivanovna," she said. "I am a retired lawyer. I've heard 100 stories like yours. And, do you know what unites women who got out? They ceased to be victims. They began to act." She pulled me a business card. "This is a center for helping women in a crisis situation. Free legal advice, psychological support. Go there and remember, you are stronger than you think." The next day, I went to the address. I was met by a young woman, Victoria, a psychologist and coordinator of the center. She listened to my story, nodded and said, "You don't. The first and not the last. But you can be the one who breaks out if you're willing to fight." "Ready," I whispered. Following 2 years of my life were like a spy movie. I lived a double life at home. I was a broken, submissive wife, whom my husband and mother abused every day. And the mystery, bit by bit, collected evidence against Grigory. Victoria taught me how to copy correctly. Documents, how to record conversations, how to behave in such a way as not to arouse suspicion. In the center I was given an old, but a working phone. I transferred all the evidence to him, kept him in a hiding place at work. I found out that Grigory did not just cheat, he had a whole series of mistresses, that he deceived not only tax office but also business partners, that part of the equipment in the clinic was bought with black money that he had, patients, whom he harmed with negligent treatment, but bought off the courts. Each new piece of information was like a brick in the wall. I was building around it, slowly, patiently, methodically. And I also met Andrei. Andrei appeared in my life by accident, although I stopped believing in coincidences a long time ago. It was a year and a half ago in kindergarten, where he brought his son, Artyom. "Sorry to bother you," he said as he entered my group. "I'm Andrei Morozov. Artyom is 5 years old. We have just moved to the city. You can see how everything works here." He was tall, with dark hair and tired eyes. On his arm there is a pale stripe from a wedding ring, which he obviously took off recently. Artyom, hiding behind his father's leg, looking out curiously. Of course, I sat down to be at the level of a boy. "Hello, Artyom. Do you want to see our toys?" The boy nodded. Not bravely. I gave them a tour of the group, showed them the play areas, the bedroom. Andrei asked thoughtful questions, showing that the child was not a burden for him, but the center of the universe. "Sorry if I'm too meticulous," he smiled guiltily. "Simple. Artyom has gone through a lot lately. Divorce, crossing. It is important for me that he feels good here." "I understand," I replied, and really understood. In my eyes, he apparently read more than I wanted to show. Artyom began to go to our group. A quiet, introverted boy who was afraid of loud noises and shuddered when someone was moving abruptly next to him. I learned his story piece by piece from other teachers, from Andrei himself, his wife. I suffered from alcoholism. I hid it for a long time, but when Artyom was 3 years old, everything became obvious. Drunken scandals, dangerous situations in which she put a child. Andrei took his son, filed for divorce, and received full custody. But Artyom was traumatized, afraid to be alone, slept poorly, and had difficulty making contact with other children. First, I worked with him additionally, not out of obligation but because I saw the same pain in his eyes that I felt myself. We drew, sculpted, read. Gradually, he began to open up, began to smile, play with other children. Andrei noticed the changes. "I don't know how you do it," he said one day, taking his son away. But Tioma became different, happy. "Thank you. Children are very responsive to love," I replied. He looked at me attentively. "And you? Who gives you time and space?" I was confused. I don't know what to answer. Andrei apparently realized that he had touched something painful. "Sorry, it's none of my business," he muttered. "It's just that you also look like you need care." He was an architect. He moved to our city by major project reconstruction of a historic building in the center. He rented an apartment nearby, lived alone with his son. In the evenings when I picked up Artyom, we sometimes talked, first about the boy, then about life. I didn't tell him about Grigory, but he saw a bruise on my wrist when my husband grabbed me too hard during an argument. Fright in the eyes when the phone rang at an odd time. Trembling in my hands as I tried to seem calm. "I'm going to need help someday," he said one day, looking straight in the eyes. "Any help. Here is my number. Call at any time." I took the business card, not believing that I would ever use it, but hid it in a secret pocket of my bag where Grigory never saw it. I called him 3 months after that conversation. It was one of the worst evenings. Grigory came home, drunk and angry. Another conflict in the clinic, claims from the patient. He took out his anger on me, screamed, threw belongings. He didn't hit me, but I saw that he was on the verge. When he finally went to bed, I got out of the apartment, ran through the dark streets, I don't know where. I dialed Andrei's number with trembling fingers. "Hello, it's me," I gasped. "Help is needed. Where are you?" His voice became harsh and collected. "Tell me the address, I'll be there in a moment." He picked me up after 15 minutes. He brought me to his place, sat me on the sofa, covered me with a blanket, made tea, sat next to me and was silent, giving me time to recover. "Do you want to tell me?" he asked when I finished my second cup. And I told everything about Masha, about Grigory, about the trap in which I found myself, about the Center for Helping Women, about the plan that I was building, about the fear that I would not cope, that he would break me earlier, before I have time to gather everything I need. Andrei listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded. "Then you need time and a safe place to store evidence. I have a seat in the center, but you're afraid that someone might take you there," he finished. "I see then. So, I have a safe in the office. Only I have access. You can store everything you need there. This is from a room in a communal apartment. Belongs to my aunt. She went to live with her daughter. The room is empty. If you want to move out of your husband's house, please live there, no fee needed." I looked at him dumbfounded. "Why are you doing this? We almost don't know each other." "Because I was where you are now," he replied quietly. When I realized that his wife was drinking, that she could harm Artyom, I felt helpless. The system was in no hurry to help me. "She is a mother. She is more trusted," everyone said. I was lucky. I had money for good lawyers, connections, opportunities, but I remember that horror when you don't know how to protect yourself and the one you love. No one should feel like that, and if I can help, I will help. That night, I did not return home. I slept on the sofa by the Andrei, and in the morning, when Grigory called over and over again, she came up with a story about a sick colleague who she helped all night. He believed me because I had always been submissive and predictable. It never occurred to him that I might lie. From that day on, Andrei became my secret ally. I brought him documents he scanned and stored in the cloud which only the two of us had access to, recordings of conversations. I overwrote it on several media, hid it in different places. He introduced me to his friend, the investigator, regional prosecutor's office. He looked at the materials I had collected and whistled. "This is serious," he said. "If everything is confirmed to your husband, not only a fine will be threatened, prison sentence for evasion from taxes on an especially large scale, fraud. It will definitely pull for 5 years. Is it possible to make sure that the case is not initiated immediately after the divorce?" I asked. "It is necessary that he first receive all the possessions so that he feels like a winner." The investigator thought for a moment. "Technically, it is possible to apply now, but ask for time to collect additional evidence. It is possible to last 4 to 5 months. But why? Because when the check falls on him, he will not have the resources to defend himself. He will invest everything in the renovation of the apartment, in l'expansion de la clinique. And when the arrest of accounts begin, the confiscation will remain." "With what?" "You are a vengeful woman," the investigator grinned. "I'm fair," I corrected. "Contours." Victoria from the center helped me draw up a statement to the OPEC authorities that Grigory illegally used maternity capital and did not allocate a share to the deceased child in the apartment. She also connected me with a notary, who agreed to hold the documents and send them at the right time. "This will destroy it," Victoria warned. "The apartment will be under arrest for years. The transaction is invalid. He will have to return the maternity capital with interest and fines. With his debts, it will be a disaster." At the same time, I found Grigory's former patients, a woman whom he incorrectly placed an implant, and she suffered from pain for 6 months until she went to another doctor, a man who was promised one treatment but was given another, more expensive, taking advantage of his helplessness in the dental chair, an elderly couple that he just deceived by taking money for the work and doing it poorly. All of them were afraid to sue. Grigory was a famous doctor. He had connections, money for lawyers. But when I told them my plan, when I explained that we were stronger together, they agreed. "We will testify," said the woman with the implant. "If it helps stop him." Details were put together in a mosaic. Grigory did not suspect anything. For him, it remained a downtrodden wife who was about to break down completely. He increased the pressure. Now he shouted at me almost every day. His mother moved in with us and they acted together, humiliating me at every opportunity. "Look at yourself," Valentina Petrovna said when I came home from work. "Sadness, you mess with other people's children all day, but you couldn't give birth to your own. You're useless. Grisha shouldn't have married you." I was silent, lowering my eyes. Strength grew inside me, but they saw only submission. It was necessary. "A little more," I repeated to myself. "A little more." We became close with Andrei. There's no way for a lover to do that. It didn't come to me, although I saw that he treated me not only as a friend, but I couldn't afford new ones. Relationship while she was married, that would be wrong. And I was also afraid. I was afraid to trust. Again, I was afraid of making a mistake, afraid of disappointment. He understood, did not press, did not demand. He was just there, helped, supported, believed in me when I myself stopped. Believe. "You can do it," he would say when I came to see him on particularly difficult days. "You're the strongest woman, that I know." "I don't feel strong," I once admitted. I feel scared. Every day I am afraid that he will find out that everything will collapse. Strength is not the absence of fear, Andrei said. It is the ability to act in spite of it. And you are. Act every day. You're a hero, you just don't see it yourself. Artyom became attached to me, called me by my name Katya, and happily ran to me every morning. I fell in love with this boy as my own. I saw Masha's reflection in it. What she is, she could have been if she had survived, and he seemed to feel in me what he lacked: motherly love and care. Katya, will you be my mother? He asked once, when we were sculpting from plasticine. I was in a hurry. Do you have a mother, Artyom? But it's bad, he said simply. Dad says, she's sick, and you're good. You don't scream, you don't. Oh, wait. My heart ached. I hugged him. I will always take care of you, I promised, always. In the evening of the same day, Andrei was delayed when he was picking up his son. He asked me at home why you don't live with us, he said quietly. He said he wanted you to be his mom. I'm sorry, I'm confused, I didn't want to, not apologize. He took my hand. I'm glad. I am glad that he has you, that he is not afraid to get attached to people. So do I. I would like you to be a part of our life. Not now, I understand, but someday when you're ready. I looked at him, this kind, decent person who appeared in my life exactly when I needed support the most. Someday, I repeated. A month before filing for divorce, something unexpected happened. I received a letter, an ordinary paper letter, in the mailbox of the kindergarten. Someone knew it was dangerous to send him home. Inside there was an address and a request to come. Signature is a person to whom you owe more than you think. I went. The address turned out to be the office of a large construction company. I was ushered into the director's office, a respectable man in his 60s, with penetrating eyes. Have a seat, Ekaterina Sergeyevna, he said. My name is Viktor Pavlovich Gromov. I am Andrei's father. I froze. Don't worry, he smiled. My son doesn't know that I've found you. He is an honest man, he would never violate your privacy. But I'm not like that, squeamish. When I found out what was going on in your life, yes, Andrei told me in general terms. I have made inquiries about your husband. He opened the folder on the table. Grigory Sokolov, a good doctor, but a disgusting person, debts to suppliers, deceived partners, hidden income. But that's not all. He took out the photographs. 3 years ago, he operated on my niece. The girl was 16 years old. Simple wisdom tooth extraction surgery. He did something wrong. A complication and inflammation have arisen. The girl spent 2 weeks in intensive care. She almost died. I listened coldly. Sokolov hushed up the case. I paid the head doctor of the hospital to correct the records. Officially, the doctor on duty was to blame, who was later fired. But I know the truth, and for the last 3 years I have been collecting evidence. I was waiting for the moment when I could destroy it. He looked at me. Andrei told me about your plan. A good plan, but not enough. Sokolov is slippery, he has connections, he can get out of tax problems, pay off, find loopholes. But if add also a case of medical negligence with serious consequences, he will definitely go to jail for a long time. Why did you decide to help now? Because for the first time in 3 years I have an ally, he replied. You are a woman who has access to all his affairs, who knows where to look, who can tie all the threads together, and because my son is smiling again for the first time in many years. Thanks to you. I want you to be happy, both. Viktor Pavlovich handed me a folder with documents. Here is everything I have collected. Medical records, witness testimony, examination. Use it when the time comes. And he also wrote something on paper. This is the phone number of my friend, the prosecutor of the region. Very influencer. If you need help, call and say that it is for me. I took the paper with trembling hands. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Make my son happy, he said simply. When it'll be over, that's enough. From then on, I knew I wasn't alone. I had a whole army. Victoria and her center, the investigator of the prosecutor's office, former patients of Grigory, Viktor Pavlovich with his connections and resources, and Andrei with little Artyom, who were waiting for me to finally become free. It remains only to bring the plan to the end. File for divorce, give up everything, wait until Grigory swallows the bait, and then see how everything is. What he has built on lies and betrayal will collapse on his head. The first blow came exactly 4 months after. Divorce. I knew the exact date. The notary promised to send the documents to the OPIC authorities on this day. I sat in my room in a communal apartment, drank tea and waited. The phone rang at 1:30 in the morning. Grigory, I did not answer. He called back again and again. On the 5th time, I picked up the phone. What have you done? His voice was full of rage and panic at the same time. Why the hell did you write? To the guardianship. Hello, Grigory, I spoke calmly, although my heart was pounding. What are you talking about? Don't pretend to be a fool. I just received a call from the guardianship. They said that I illegally used maternity capital, that I was obliged to allocate a share, he stammered. Masha's share in the apartment. What will be the check now? Cancellation of the transaction is possible. Is that you? Is it your doing? I just restored justice, I answered. You will. Ignored the law. She lived for 20 minutes. He yelled. What the hell is the share? She was alive. It was registered by law. She had rights. And you violated these rights. Are you on purpose? He was choking with anger. You gave up the apartment in my favor, knowing that it was problematic. You set me up. I didn't, which I did not refuse, except for what did not belong to me. I was smiling even though he couldn't see it. You made it yourself. Everything is on herself. You yourself broke the law. I simply pointed this out to the competent authorities. He cursed for a long time, dirty, then passed out. Victoria called an hour later. It's begun, she said with a satisfied note in her voice. The guardianship authorities accepted the application for consideration. Your ex? My husband has already received a summons. Now he will have to prove that he acted legally and he will not be able to. How much is it? Take? A month, maybe a year. But the apartment is already in question, soon. Will not be able to sell it or re-register it. And this is just the beginning. When the tax authorities find out about this case, they will be interested where he got the money for such a apartment. I struck the second blow a week later. I sent an anonymous letter to the tax office with copies of documents, which I collected for 2 years. Gray salaries of clinic employees, undeclared income, fictitious expenses to reduce tax base. After 2 weeks, an inspection came to the clinic. I learned about this from Andrei, his father Viktor Pavlovich. He kept his hand on Poland. They seized all the documentation, Andrei said. Computers, servers, paper archives. Sokolov tried to object, but they had the sanction of the prosecutor's office. Now the clinic actually does not work, all planned. Operations are cancelled until the end of the check. How long will it last? At least 3 months. And then, if they find violations, and they will, judging by the fact that you have collected fines, before the accrual perhaps. Criminal case. I nodded. Everything was going according to plan. Grigory called me every day. At first he threatened, promised to destroy, to sue me, to make me feel sorry. Then he began to paint, asked to withdraw the application from the guardianship, to say, tax authorities, that it was a mistake, that he would fix everything. I didn't answer the phone. Once he came to the kindergarten and was waiting for me at the entrance. When I saw him, I turned around and called Andrei. He arrived in 10 minutes, got out of the car and went to Grigory. Get out of here, Andrei said harshly. Immediately. And who are you? Grigory tried to feign contempt, but there was uncertainty in his eyes. Andrei was taller and broader in the shoulders, and now he looked not at all like a gentle architect, but like a ready-made person. To protect what is dear to him. I am a person who will not allow you to disturb Catherine. Andrei took a step forward. You have 10 seconds to get in the car and drive away. Otherwise, I will call the police and tell them about the violation of the court order to approach my ex-wife. What is the prohibition? There is no prohibition. It will be, Andrei promised. There will be one statement from Ekaterina about harassment. Want to check it out? Grigory stood for a while, then spat at his feet and went to his car. As he left, he looked at me with such hatred that I felt uncomfortable. Don't be afraid. Andrei put his arm around my shoulders. He wouldn't dare to do anything. He has too many problems without you. The problems multiplied. At the beginning of winter, lawsuits from former patients were added to tax and guardianship cases. First, that woman with an unsuccessful implant applied, then 3 more. They demanded compensation for low-quality treatment, moral damage, costs for correcting mistakes. Grigory hired lawyers, but they were expensive and the money was melting away. The clinic did not work at full capacity after the inspection. Many patients refused services, fearing problems. He could not sell or mortgage the apartment. It was questionable. The dacha had to be sold urgently for half the price in order to pay off part of the debts. His mother called me, shouting that I ruined her son's life, that I was a witch, that I should be cursed. I listened, silently, and then calmly Valentina Petrovna said, "Your son ruined my life. While I was losing our child, he was having fun with his mistress. Then he mocked me for 3 years. I just gave him back what he deserved. If you want to blame someone, blame him or yourself for raising such a person." She was still shouting something, but I blacked out. In January, the main blow struck. Viktor Pavlovich activated his trump card. A case of negligence with the niece. The prosecutor's office resumed the investigation, which was closed 3 years ago. There were new witnesses, new examinations. Grigory was summoned for interrogation. He tried to deny everything, the investigator, a friend of Viktor Pavlovich, told me. But the proof is irrefutable. We restored the medical documents that he made. Witnesses confirmed his guilt. Now the issue of initiating a criminal case is being decided. Under what article? Provision of services that do not meet safety requirements, resulting in serious harm to health. Plus forgery of documents, plus giving a bribe to an official. If everything works out, it will last for 6 years, taking into account tax cases, all 8 years old. Grigory will spend 8 years in prison for what he did to the girl, for what he did to me. Over the years of deception, manipulation, violence. In February, his clinic was declared bankrupt. Debts exceeded assets. The equipment was sold at auction. The premises were returned to the landlord. Grigory was left without a job, without a business, without a reputation. Not a single clinic in the city wanted to take a doctor with such a train. The court recognized the apartment as purchased in violation of the law. The deal was canceled. Grigory had to return to the state, the maternity capital, with interest and fines of almost $500,000. He did not have such money. I met him by chance on the street in March. He walked hunched over in a cheap jacket, unshaven, 10 years older. When he saw me, he stopped. "Is that enough?" he asked in a muffled voice. Destroyed me completely. Was it worth it? I looked at him, at this man who once seemed to me a prince who promised to love and protect. And then he betrayed me at the most terrible moment and turned my life into hell. "It was not me who destroyed you, Grigory," I said. "Be quiet. Your own actions did it. I just made sure that I had to answer for them. You will deceive the state, patients, partners. You crippled the girl, hushed up the case. You betrayed your wife when she's bigger. I needed you all the time. Everything that happens now is the consequence of your choice, not my place. I loved you," he whispered. "Once, at the very beginning, I may have nodded, but love was not enough when difficulties. You chose the easy way, you chose yourself, and now you are paying the price." I walked on without looking back. I felt sorry for him. A little. I feel sorry for the person he could have been but did not. But I didn't feel guilty. He got what he deserved. In April, Grigory was arrested. A criminal case under articles on medical malpractice, forgery of documents, and tax evasion went to court. The mother tried to raise money for a good lawyer, but it was not enough. She had to sell her apartment and move in with distant relatives. It has grown old, broken. Her all-powerful, successful son was in a pre-trial detention center and was waiting for the verdict. And I lived for the first time in many years. I just lived. The room in the communal apartment was small, but cozy. I furnished it in my own way. Light curtains, fresh flowers. On the windowsill, photos of children from my group on the wall. Every morning she woke up and went to work, which she loved. The salary was enough for a modest but decent life. The grant for the social project was approved. I opened the center. Psychological assistance to women who have experienced domestic violence. A small room, 3 psychologists, a lawyer, me as a coordinator. We helped for free, found housing, consulted, supported. Different women came to us, young and elderly, with children and without education, and not so much. All of them had one thing in common. They went through hell and were looking for a way out. "You saved my life," one of them said to meet me. "I thought this was the end, that I would never break free. And you showed that it is possible." I hugged them and thought, we're saving each other. You give me meaning. You showed that everything was not in vain. With Andre we became closer. It took me a long time to be afraid to trust, afraid to make a mistake again, but he was patient. He waited until I was ready. In the spring, when the lilacs were in the park, he invited me for a walk. We walked along the river. Artyom ran ahead chasing pigeons. "Katya," said Andre, stopping, "I know you've been through a lot. I know you need time, but I want you to know I'm here. I'll wait as long as it takes, 2 years to 5, because you're something that's been missing in my life. You made it full." I looked at him, at this one, a kind, honest person who appeared in my life as a gift of fate, who supported me in the most dark times, which didn't demand anything in return, was just there. "I don't need a year," I said quietly. I'm ready to try again with you." He smiled, and there was so much joy and relief in that smile that my heart skipped a beat. He hugged me carefully, as if he was afraid that I would disappear. "Dad, Katya!" Artyom ran to us, out of breath and happy. "Look, I've caught a feather. Can we go feed the ducks?" Of course, I took his hand. "Come along." The three of us walked with a family that I had lost and found again, a different one but a real one. At the beginning of the summer, the trial of Grigory took place. I came to the announcement of the verdict of invincibility just to close this chapter completely. The judge read out the verdict for a long time, found guilty on all counts. 7 years in prison, a ban on medical activities, fines and compensation for victims. Grigory stood in the cage, pale with an extinguished look. As he was being led away, he turned around and looked at me. There was no hatred in his eyes, only emptiness. I left the courthouse on a bright sunny day. Andre was waiting for me in machinery. "Well, is it over?" he asked. "Yes," I nodded. "Been completed. And what do you feel?" I thought about it. What did I feel? Relief? Yes. Satisfaction? A little. Joy? No, just liberation. It was as if the heavy weight that I had been carrying for 3 years had finally fallen from my shoulders. "I feel like I'm free," I said. Finally, truly free. Then we went home. Andre opened the car door. "Tyoma is looking forward to it." "We are. We're going to bake cookies, remember?" I got into the car and smiled. Home. I had a house again. Not an apartment with an expensive finish, but a place where I was loved and waited for, where I was not needed to be afraid, where you could just be yourself. We drove through the city, and I looked out the window at the familiar streets. So much has happened here in recent years, so much pain, struggle, fear. But I went through it, not broke, became stronger. Masha would be proud of me, I thought. She gave me strength even as she left. The memory of her made me struggle. Do not give up, seek justice. "What are you thinking about?" asked Andrew, casting a quick glance at me. "That life is a strange thing," I replied. He takes away one thing but gives another. It breaks, but then gives you a chance to get back together. I lost my daughter, but thanks to her I found themselves. I lost my husband, but I met you and Artyom, so you don't regret what you did to Sokolov? I shook my head. No, he got what he deserved, and other people are now protected from him. The girl he crippled received justice. The patients he deceived received compensation. This is more important than my personal revenge. We drove up to the house. Artyom looked out of the window, waving his arms. When we entered, he rushed to me. "Katya, have you come? Let's get the cookies quickly." I picked him up in my arms and dissipated. "Come on, just wash your hands first." In the evening, when Artyom fell asleep, Andre and I were sitting in the kitchen drinking tea. "I have news," he said. "You will understand that. The project I was doing? Reconstruction of a building in the center? Of course. The customer offered a non-permanent position of chief architect. Good money, stability. We will be able to rent a larger apartment or even buy it in a couple of years." I smiled. "This is wonderful." And he also took my hand. "I want us to be together, officially. I'm right now. I understand you need time after the divorce, but when you're ready, marry me, Katya." His heart beat faster. Proposal. He proposed to me. Andre, don't answer now. He squeezed my hand. Think. I just want you to know my intentions. I'm serious about us, about the future. Artyom loves you. I love you. We want you to be with us forever. I looked at him through tears, happy tears, unaccustomed after so many bitter ones. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I will marry you. When will the time come? I will definitely get out. A year has passed since that court hearing, a year filled with quiet happiness, which I almost forgot how to feel. I didn't look over my shoulder anymore, I didn't. She shuddered at sharp sounds, did not wake up in the middle of the night, in a cold sweat. The Women's Aid Center has grown. We were approached from all over the region, some on the recommendation, some found through internet. We have already helped 50 women get out of toxic relationships, find a job, housing, and get their lives back. Some brought their children to us. We opened a children's playroom where babies could be safe while their mothers talked to psychologists. Victoria became not just a colleague, but a real friend. We often drank tea in the evenings, discussing cases, sharing experiences. Do you know what I've learned over the years of work? She once said. The worst thing for a Nasinik is when the victim ceases to be a victim, when she finds strength within herself. That's when all his power collapses. Are you talking about me? I smiled. And about you too. You were broken, Katya. I remember the first time you came to us, frightened, cornered. Now look at yourself. You didn't just survive, you won and help others win. I thought about it, about how fear turns into power, about how pain can become fuel for change. Grigory wanted to break me, but instead, he tempered me, made me who I became. I stayed in kindergarten. Work, could not leave her kids, but now she combined 2 jobs, morning and afternoon with the children, evenings. Dedicated to the center. There was enough money not only to support himself but also to save. Andre helped, although I tried to be independent. I was financially dependent on Grigory for too long to fall into this trap again, even with a good person. You're stubborn, Andre laughed when I refused his money again. I want to help you. You're all ready. You help, I answered, just by being there. But financially, I have to stand on my own 2 feet. It's important to me. He understood that this was one of the many things I loved him for. He respected my boundaries, my need for independence. Artyom and I became inseparable. Officially, I was the teacher of his group, but at home I was almost a mother. He called me just Katya, but in his voice, when he pronounced my name, there was such tenderness that my heart melted. Katya, will we always be together? I asked him one evening when I was putting him to bed. Always, I promised, kissing him on the forehead. I'm nowhere. I won't leave. And when will you become my real mother? I smiled. Soon, baby, very soon. Andre waited patiently. We had been living together for 6 months. At first I moved in with them, just like a family friend, a guest. Then it became clear that it was forever, but I do not officially formalize the relationship. Hurry, I was still sick early from a previous marriage. I'm afraid, I confessed to him one night. I'm afraid to repeat the mistake. I'm afraid that everything will go wrong again. You won't repeat the mistake, because I am not Grigory. And our relations are built on a different foundation, to trust, respect, equality. We don't have anything that ruined your marriage. How do you know? Maybe in a year will you change? Will you become different? Maybe, he agreed. People change, but you know what the difference is? If I start to change into a bad one. Sighed, you won't stay, you won't tolerate it. You're going to leave because now you know your worth, and it gives me an incentive to remain worthy of you. His words were like a balm on the wounded soul. He was right. I wasn't that woman anymore, who would allow herself to be humiliated. I learned to value myself. In the fall, a letter arrived from Grigory. He wrote from the colony where he served his term. Ekaterina, I know that I have no right to ask for forgiveness. I know that I have caused you unbearable pain, but I want you to know I understand. Here, behind bars, I had a lot of time to think about who I was, what I lost, what I did with you, with us, with Masha. I'm not asking for my return. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to say you were right. In everything I am. Deserved what happened to me. And I'm sorry. I am sincerely sorry for everything. When I get out, and this will happen in 6 years, if If they don't give me an early release, I'll try to become a different person, the way I should have been from the very beginning. Start. Not for you. I understand that nothing connects us anymore. For yourself, to look in the mirror without disgust. Be happy, Katya. You deserve all the best. Excuse me, Dragorius. I reread the letter a few times. I was looking for a catch, manipulation, an attempt to evoke pity, but I found only sincere remorse. Maybe it was. Hereby, maybe prison really changed him? Or maybe he just learned to play the role better. I didn't know and didn't want to. To know, it didn't matter anymore. I wrote a short answer. Grigory, I cannot forgive what you have done, but I let go of anger. Not for your sake, for my own sake. Hatred is a poison that destroys the one who wears it. I choose life without him. I wish you to change sincerely, but my life is no longer connected with yours. Goodbye, Ekaterina. After sending the letter, I felt relieved. The last thread connecting me with the past was broken. I was free. Finally and irrevocably. In December, when the first snow fell, Andrei proposed to me officially. Not loudly, not magnificently as I loved. At home, when Artyom was already asleep, he simply took out a small box with a simple but beautiful ring and said to Katya, "I'm ready. Wait another 100 years if necessary, but I hope I don't have to. Become my wife, officially, before people and before the law. I want the whole world to know you are my family." First I looked at the ring, then at him, at this man who showed me what true love is, who does not, demanded, neither controlled nor manipulated, who simply loved. "Yes," I said, and tears rolled down my cheeks. "Yes, Andrei, I'll marry you." We got married in the spring. A quiet ceremony in a small cafe, only the closest ones. Victoria was my witness. Andrei's father, Viktor Pavlovich, was his best man. Artyom was carrying rings, proud and happy. "You're like a princess today," he whispered to me. "The most beautiful princess in the world." I was wearing a simple cream dress with a bouquet of wildflowers. No luxury, no pathos, just love and joy, people who were nearby. When we were declared husband and wife, Andrei kissed me gently, carefully, and I thought, here. It is happiness, simple, quiet, real. At the wedding, Viktor Pavlovich came up to me. "Thank you," he said simply, "for making my son happy, for a grandson who smiles again, for not giving up when it was easiest to give up." "I have to thank you," I replied. "Helped me when I needed help the most. We helped each other." He smiled. "This is how it should be. Family is when you support without expecting anything in return." Family. I had a family again. My husband, son, father-in-law who treated me like his own daughter. Friends, colleagues, children in the kindergarten and center who needed me. A life full of meaning. In the summer, something happened that I did not expect. I got pregnant. Andrei and I did not plan to have children while I was afraid. I was afraid to lose it again. I was afraid to go through the same pain. When I saw 2 stripes on the test, my hands trembled. I sat in the bathroom and cried with fear, joy, mixed feelings. Andrew found me there. "What happened?" He sat down next to him, worried. I silently handed him the test. He looked, and his face brightened. "We're going to have a baby. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that what happened to Masha will happen again." He hugged me tightly. "Do not repeat yourself. We will be monitored by the best doctors. You will not work to the point of exhaustion. I'll be there every second. Everything's going to be all right. Here? Everything's going to be all right." The pregnancy proceeded under strict control. I went on maternity leave to the Crane. I took care of myself. Andrei did not leave me. Took care of me as if I were a precious vase. Artyom was delighted that he would become the elder. "Brother, I'm going to protect the baby," he said seriously, "and teach him everything I know." In February, when the trees covered with it, I gave birth to a natural birth without complications, a healthy pink girl with a loud cry and strong lungs. When they put her on my chest, I could not hold back my tears. It was not Mashlinka. But it was my daughter, alive, warm, real. "What shall we call it?" asked Andrew, sitting next to the bed, unable to take his eyes off the baby. "Faith," I said. "Let's call it Faith because it is my symbol of faith." the belief that after pain comes happiness, that after darkness, the light comes. Vera grew up as a healthy, cheerful child. Artyom adored his sister, helped me with her, read her fairy tales. Andrei was an ideal father. He got up at night, changed. Policeman, rocked. We were happy, just quietly, without fanfare, but it was real happiness. Another 2 years passed. Vera was 2.5, Artyom was 8. The Women's Assistance Center has become one of the best in the region. People came to us to receive experience from other cities. I wrote a book about my experience, about how to get out of a toxic relationship. It became a bestseller, helped thousands of women. Grigory was released on parole after 5 years. Exemplary behavior, repentance. I learned about this by accident from the news. He went to another city, started a new life, worked as a simple dentist in a district clinic, lived modestly. I wasn't looking for anyone from my past life. His mother died a year before his release. His heart could not stand it. To the end, she believed that her son was innocent, that it was me who ruined his life. Maybe it was so for her. It's easier to live. I felt sorry for her, not much, but it's a pity. She too was a victim of her illusions, her blind love for her son, her inability to see the truth. Sometimes in the evenings, when the children were sleeping, I sat on the balcony and thought about the path I had traveled, about what I was like 5 years ago. Broken, frightened, cornered, and how strong, independent, happy she has become. Miss Gregory, no, it wasn't revenge, it was justice. He was punished for his crimes, real crimes, not for abandoning me or cheating on me, for deceiving the state, for crippled patients, for forging documents. I just made sure that the truth came out. Is this unfair? What are you thinking about? Andrei went out onto the balcony, covered my shoulders with a blanket. About how much has changed, I smiled. Do you remember the day when you first brought Artyom to kindergarten? How can you not remember? You were so sad. There was pain in your eyes that you were trying to hide. I immediately realized that you were going through something difficult. And you were so lost. A single father with a traumatized son. We both sought salvation and found it. He kissed me on the top of each other's heads. We stood, embracing, looking at the night city. Somewhere there lived Grigory, who started all over again. Somewhere there were a woman who was going through the same thing that I was going through, but some of them will come to our center and we will help them. Because I knew there was always a way out. Even when it seems that it does not exist, you just need to find the strength within yourself. The power to say no, the strength to get up and leave. By virtue of, to fight for your life, for your happiness, for your right to be yourself. Masha would be glad, I thought. My little girl who never knew this world. It gave me a reason to live, to fight, to change. Her short life was not in vain. She changed me, made me who I am now. Thank you, I whispered into the night sky. Thank you for the lesson, for the strength, for not letting me give up. What did you say? Asked Andrew. Nothing, I turned to him. Just thanked life for everything. For the pain that made me strong, for the losses. Who taught us to appreciate what we have, for you, for our children, for each new day. We returned to the house. I looked into the nursery. Vera sniffed in the crib, spreading her arms. Artyom slept in his room, hugging his favorite plush bear. My 2 children, 2 miracles that filled my life with meaning. I lay down next to Andrei, and he hugged me. His arms were warm and calm. There was no fear that he would explode with anger. There was no expectation of reproaches or humiliation, only love, quiet, reliable, real. I love you, I said. And I love you, he replied. I will always love. I closed my eyes, and for the last time, once before going to bed, I thought about that trial, about that day when Grigory and his mother-in-law laughed, thinking that they had won. If only they only knew what awaited them. But even if they knew, it is unlikely that anything would change. Greed, pride, confidence in impunity, all this led them to where they found themselves. And I found myself here, in a warm bed, in beloved hugs, with children behind the wall, in a life that she built herself, from ashes and pain, from tears and struggle. And it was the best revenge I could imagine. Not the destruction of Gregory, although that also happened, but my own rebirth, my triumph over circumstances, over pain, over the past. I survived. Moreover, I did not defeat him, but my fear, their weakness, their willingness to endure, and it made me truly free. When the judge found out that day the reason for my refusal of the property, I realized that I saw in front of me not a victim, but a warrior, a woman who had turned her pain into a weapon and her weakness into strength. And now, years later, I could say with confidence, it was not in vain. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of fear and despair brought me here, fortunately, to love, to your real self. The story ended, a new life began, and it was beautiful. Thank you for listening to the end. If the story was for you interesting, subscribe to the channel and like it so you don't miss new videos. M.